Hi, this is Michael Tellinger and welcome to my little humble museum here in Watervalboven, Mpumalanga, South Africa. And since most of you can't come to the museum, I'm going to give you a quick little tour of the museum and show you some of the amazing artifacts and tools that I've been collecting for the last 4 years and putting together what I believe is to be an absolutely amazing presentation of ancient civilizations and remains of what they've left behind. So first of all, what is most interesting? Over here you see a whole bunch of stuff. The walls are filled with aerial photographs, most of which were taken already probably 20 years ago by Johann Heine and so forth. But for me, the really important stuff is in the stone tools and artifacts. Now, some of the tools and artifacts that I've picked up are really mind-blowing, but the first one that I ever collected was this one here. What looks like a Stone Age club from the Flintstones. And I actually personally drove over this a few times in the 4x4 before I realized that this was probably a valuable item, and I stopped and picked it up. It was only much later that I realized that these stones ring like bells. And just to show you, it all depends how you hold it. And it's heavy, that's all I can maintain. The important thing to notice is that these are not just ordinary stones. All the tools and stones that you see in here are made out of this particular stone. This is a fragment of the type of stone. It's known as Hornfels. It's named after a German geologist, Mr. Hornfels. As you can see, it's pitch black on the inside and it's extremely hard. You cannot break this. I tried to break some of these on top of the mountain when we were trying to do patina growth studies. I was going to send half of it to the laboratory and keep half of it exposed on the mountain so we could then compare the growth of the patina over a period of time. But unfortunately, the geological department at that particular university chose to not work with me because they thought I was crazy. So here we are, patina growth. Very important. Can you see this browny substance that grows on the side? That is known as the patina. And this particular patina grows very slowly. It's estimated at about 1,000 years per microscopic layer. So when you have a tool or an artifact like any one of these phallic stones, as you can see, here are 3 beautiful examples of stone phalluses that I've collected. And there are many more, but these are just some of the best examples. Once you can see that this one, for example, broke off at the back here, and you can see how the patina has grown back, and you can also see the thickness of the patina. Clearly, whoever made this a long time ago would have done it out of the raw rock, and you would have seen the black rock originally and not the patina. So the fact that these stone artifacts and tools are completely covered in the patina. I mean, here you can see it's completely covered. There's the phallus stone for you, both sides. You can't even see a piece of the original black stone underneath. This tells us that we're dealing with something extremely old. And here's the biggest one of them. This is a beautiful example of an old phallus artifact. What they were doing with these, I don't know, but nevertheless, there seem to be a lot of them around. Some of the phenomenal other items that I've picked up is this little carved stone. I have no idea what this is, but it seems like a little statuette or something that was used. I've asked various people in the department of arts, the arts departments at various universities, would this qualify to be called a statue? And the answer is most certainly yes. So I call this the oldest statue on earth because this is also way beyond 100,000 years old, based on the patina growth. All these artifacts I'm showing you here pretty much fall into the 100,000 year plus category. And since we know that humanity is only about 300,000 years old or slightly less, if this was made by humans, then this is probably going between 100 and 300,000 years based on the on our knowledge of our origins, and also now supported by the patina growth on some of these tools and artifacts. But then what becomes important, oh yeah, I'll also show you this. This was, I found the statue and this lying about 10 meters apart on one of the slopes that I was walking through. This is a very unusual item. I mean, look at this. It's absolutely amazing why anybody would want to sculpt or mold a stone into this kind of shape. Once again, note the patina, how thick the patina is. Originally it should have been that color, and it is now this color. So you can see how old this tool is. I don't know if it was inserted into something so that would stick out. You now all know that I believe that these are just part of tools and artifacts that were used for creating Caesar technology, and I will show you now what I mean by that, using sound as a source of energy, like laser technology. But this is a spectacular artifact that I'm very, very proud of in my little possession. And then obviously it continues, as you can see here, the cone-shaped tools. These beautifully cone-shaped tools, these are not to stab or attack somebody with, as our historians and archaeologists would like to think. Here's a typical example of what archaeologists would refer to as a stone axe, a handheld axe from the so-called Stone Age era. You can see this is what you will find in most museums and examples of stone axes. The cone-shaped tools are something completely different, and that is the common denominator that you find in all these ancient ruins in southern Africa, in Zimbabwe, and so forth. Those go hand in hand with what is referred to as the sacred stones. The sacred stones that are absolutely smooth on the inside. To make this is extremely, extremely hard. To make this kind of item with Stone Age tools, just with other stones, is not possible. So whenever you hear people talk about these in South African circles, historic circles and archaeological circles, they're called weights for digging sticks. When people made these, so when they went into the field to dig for roots and food, they would put this around the stick for extra weight so they could dig more effectively. Now that is the most nonsensical thing that anybody was able to come up with. These advanced tools, technological tools, used in association with these. And this is really just a frequency converter, these sacred stones. You put one frequency in and another frequency comes out. It converts the frequency. Telecommunications people today use tubes, pipes, to do exactly the same thing. It's called tubing in the satellite industry. They put a frequency, bring a frequency down from the satellite, put it through the tube or the pipe, and a different frequency comes out the other side. It's a very cheap and effective way of changing one frequency to another. Well, here you've got a frequency converter that's not going to break, will last forever. And that's why we have hundreds of thousands of these that have been found around southern Africa. And once again, if you compare the numbers of people that should have been living here during the Stone Age period compared to hundreds of thousands of these items, it just doesn't gel, does it? So we now know that this is an advanced tool using Caesar technology, and these cone-shaped tools, just like our friend Ed Leedskalnin in Florida, when he built Coral Castle using ice cream cones in his hands. When the two boys saw him and reported to their parents that they saw the man lifting up the giant blocks using ice cream cones in his hands. Here you go. And this is also in a way reminiscent of the winged bird-like beings in the Sumerian culture, holding those pine cones in their hands while watering what seems to be a tree of life or something like that. So we've got a common denominator here of pine cones and cone-shaped tools and artifacts that now suggest that they used advanced technology, especially Caesar technology using sound. Now, the fact that I discovered that the stones ring like bells is a huge breakthrough, because that allowed me to realize that the reason why all these stone circles are a different shape, and there are more than 10 million. In fact, I now believe that there are probably as many as 20 million, if not more, of these, the more you look into it. But each one is completely unique, and the fact that they are unique represents, as you by now know, the cymatic patterns of the energy fields coming out of the ground. So let me also just show you how some of these other stones ring like bells. This is what I call, and as you can see, we find many of these elongated stones. This one is full of patina. It's thick patina, so it's quite dull, but you can still hear the effect. And this is a beautiful one. This one actually rings at 2 different frequencies. Dun dun dun, dun dun dun. You can hear the pentatonic scale there actually. It's beautiful. And then one of the really interesting mysteries are the birds of Southern Africa, starting with the Zimbabwe birds that closely resemble the birds on a pedestal up in Egypt that were the mascots of the gold miners in Egypt and the Near East. And here we have just a few examples of birds on a pedestal. Sometimes it's just a broad base that narrows down to the top, always somehow angled up, looking at the gods for protection. And this is just one of such examples of dozens of these that I've found, which I believe are the early prototypes of the mascots and the protectors of these very early gold miners. This one was found in the middle of the Karoo while I was stopped to relieve myself while driving for hours and hours from Cape Town to Johannesburg. And this is what I found. Once you know what you're looking for, it's just spectacular what you find. And these bird-shaped stones are quite remarkable. Here's a latest one I found. And if you look online and you just Google Zimbabwe birds, you'll see how these resemble many of those. Well, there are only about 8 of those Zimbabwe birds, but they're spectacular. These being the very basic, I believe, prototypes of those that much later became refined in Zimbabwe. You'll also see on the Zimbabwe birds the 2 circles, just like on the birds from Egypt, that are linked to the 5-pointed stars from Egypt. This, however, is my favorite one. Was actually spotted by Louise while we were driving down the mountain. I mean, look at this. Perfectly carved. I believe it was probably put in the ground, standing like this. It's just very heavy. And looking up at the sky for protection. What you notice is, look how red it is. It's completely red from the patina that has covered it in its original shape. It should have been black like the Hornfell stone. But this is a very precious and priceless artifact that is lying here. And you can all come and see it. So, these are just some of the things in this museum. It's covered in priceless artifacts. Just might as well just show you these pointed tools. These pointed tools and stones are not just the little ones. Sometimes you get them in large. They're quite large. Look at this one. And it looks also like it was inserted into something up to that point. And also, remember, they all ring like bells. This one is no exception. Alright, and on that note, that's a short little tour of my museum. It normally takes at least 2 hours to go through here and explain a lot of the stuff, but just a quick introduction since you can't come here, and thanks for watching.